Over the hill and through the moor, the candleman comes walking up to your door. He lights up a candle and walks to your bed, leaves the candle in the window, and leaves with your head. That's the nursery rhyme my grandma used to tell me when I was young. I remember that little rhyme terrifying me as a child as I cowered under the covers of my bed in that small country cottage, too scared to sleep. She described him as a tall, pale man in a robe who liked to kill little children. And whenever he killed, Grandma would say in a hushed voice, he would leave a ghostly candle in their window. At that, she would yell and make me jump back in fright while she shrieked with laughter. The Candleman. Even the name gives me chills. It seemed like such a horrible, scary thing to say to a child, but then again, Grandma was a scary woman. She was small with weathered skin and cruel, sunken eyes that always seemed to glare at me. After Grandpa died, she hardly ever left the house, just sat in her rocking chair, telling stories of the Candleman and taking delight in my fear, laughing madly when I jumped. I found her such a disgusting woman. Anyway, when I grew up, I learned that it wasn't her fault really. Grandpa's death had shaken her up, messed with her head. She didn't know what was appropriate anymore. Grandpa was only alive when I was a baby and I never knew him, but I learned when I was older how much he meant to Grandma. Without him, she had been broken. She died when I was 13, and I guess it didn't really come to me as much of a shock. She was incredibly old and frail. Now I'm 30, with a wife and a little girl. We have a comfortable suburban home, and I couldn't be happier. There's been one thing that's shaken me up recently. It was a silly thing, but it still scared the hell out of me. A nightmare. In the dream, I was in my bedroom, comfy under the covers, when I heard a tune being played on the piano downstairs. I knew what was being played as soon as I heard it. The Candleman. Goosebumps ran up my arms and neck, and ice filled my stomach. I sprinted down the narrow staircase into the living room where I saw a tall, pale figure in a robe holding a candle leaving through the open door. The Candleman. He was about 6'4" or 5, with dead-looking beady eyes and a wide, evil grin. I woke up suddenly in a cold sweat, turned on the light, and read until I was ready to sleep again. I put the dream down to too many drinks and the coming of Halloween, but it freaked me out anyway. And that takes me back to yesterday, Halloween night. I was trudging back from a party, not drunk, but still woozy from tiredness, my hands thrust into my pockets for warmth. Whilst I was walking back through the crisp orange leaves, the poem of the Candleman popped into my head. My heart began to thud as I walked down a poorly lit street, leaves crunching underfoot, the pale moon casting long shadows on the earth. In my mind's eye, I could see the Candleman, thin and ghostly, running up to me and cutting off my head in one swing of an axe. Silly, I know, but the dark can make my imagination run wild sometimes. I arrived on my road and began to calm down, feeling silly for ever letting that poem get to me, safe under the streetlights. As I arrived at my front yard, I noticed a tall man in a robe standing at the end of the street, face shrouded in darkness. He appeared to be staring at me. Once again, images of the Candleman flooded through my head, sending my heartbeat into overdrive. I shook it off. It's just a tall man out for Halloween, nothing to be scared of, I said to myself, trying to slow my breathing. I looked up at my house, hearing a demonic laughter from the man's direction. An icicle of terror stabbed at my heart as there, in my daughter's window, flickering softly, was a candle.